DH. That's the nothing personal letters of the day. Designated hitter. Today is Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. Portions of today's nothing personal may have been pre-recorded. In today's game with the New York Yankees, there was a record-breaking amount of offense. There were home runs galore, back to back to back, hit by the first inning, 3 Yankees, Bellinger, Stanton, Judge. Third time that's happened during the course of 1 year. That's a record. And the Yankees pounded the Tampa Bay Rays after a rain delay. However, before the game, that's when the real drama happened. Because before the game, it became clear that Aaron Judge would no longer be able to play outfield, as had been discussed on previous Nothing Personal episodes. The reason why Aaron Judge was not going to play the outfield is that he has a flexor strain and he can't throw. So, what do you do when you're the Yankees and you've got multiple DHs on your roster? And one of them's name is Giancarlo Stanton, and he's good. As a matter of fact, since July 4, 8, pre-recorded 6, 9, since July 1st, Giancarlo Stanton has hit 327. His OPS is over 1,100, and he's got 14 home runs and 35 ribbies. The problem is that when he plays right field, which he has to do when Aaron Judge is DHing, he has a tendency to get a little sore, which causes him to miss a couple games, which he just did, but we expect him back in the lineup tonight against the Tampa Bay Rays. In the lineup, you would think that he would be a force in right field. It turns out that Giancarlo Stanton was able to hit 2 home runs against the Tampa Bay Rays on Tuesday night, August 19th. Aaron Judge, hitting at DH, is also able to hit home runs, but as you're putting your lineup together and you're talking to your manager, you are wondering whether Aaron Judge can once again play the field. And Aaron Boone made it clear that Aaron Judge will no longer be playing the field because he will not be able to throw the ball. As a matter of fact, Aaron Boone gave a specific, direct quote when asked about Aaron Judge and whether or not he may or may not regain full strength in his arm this year. Specifically, Aaron Boone said, I don't think we're going to see him throwing like he normally does at any point this year. But that's okay. We've got to feel like he can go out there and protect himself. After those comments, the Yankees went on about their way and were able to beat the Tampa Bay Rays in convincing fashion, putting a pretty sizable distance between them and not making the playoffs. Hi, I'm David Samson. On today's Nothing Personal, we're going to talk about the New York Yankees and how impressive it is what they were able to accomplish against the Tampa Bay Rays with a lineup that included Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. The most interesting thing that happened from the game last night is that Aaron Boone had come out and said that Aaron Judge would not be able to play the outfield. He would not be able to have full strength with his arm, which seems like a normal thing that would happen when you've got a flexor strain. But the Yankees have a small problem. Aaron Judge spoke to the media today and said, sorry, I don't know what my manager's talking about. You don't see that too often. He specifically said, responding to Aaron Boone's comments about his inability to throw at full strength, Aaron Judge, quote, said, I don't know why he said that. He hasn't seen me throw for the past 2 weeks, so I'm pretty confident I'll get back to 100%. Uh-oh, we have PR drama. When a player comes out and says something against what the manager has said, it causes the president and the GM to have 3 meetings. What a bummer. 1, I got to meet with the player. Aaron, Judge, you know what Aaron Boone had said. If you have something wrong with what your manager has said. You don't need to go public with it. Let's talk about it internally, figure out what the mistake was, and then we will have it corrected in a way that makes sense, that doesn't make it look like we're a bunch of buffoons. Meeting number 2, Aaron Boone. Dude, where did you get that information from? Well, Brian, I got that information from our trainer and from you. I understand that, but we no need to talk about that. We all know that Aaron Judge isn't going to be regular because he has a flexor strain. No matter how much rehab he does during the course of the season, he will not be able to throw the way he always throws. But we do know, Mr. Boone, says Mr. Cashman, that he's throwing at 200 feet, up from 60 feet. It's not what it was, but if we can get him fully stretched out, we got to get him out in right field, because then we can have Stanton back at DH and our team just becomes that much better. Booney says, well, what did I do wrong? And the answer is, Booney, we weren't ready to talk publicly about whether we thought or didn't think that Aaron Judge was going to be ready. As a matter of fact, it would be my view that we don't talk about it at all. And Booney said, and? Well, Booney, look what Judge said. Booney says, I have no idea what Judge said. I've had these meetings before. The manager, the player, two different things, and they're not aware of what each other's saying, because here's the crazy part. The players and the manager, they're not on social media. They're not looking at seeing what the comments are. They may have friends who call them and say, did you see this? Did you see that? Our PR department may go up to a player or a manager and say, did you see this? Did you see that? But believe me, they're not all that focused on it. So you got to tell Boone, this is what Judge said. Meeting number 2 is over with Boone. Meeting number 3, oh, come on. I got to get Boone and Judge in the office together. I can't just do separate meetings, which I have done, one with Judge, one with Boone. The next one, 2 of them together with the GM Cashman, and the team president, if he's around, smartly should be there. Why? We got to make sure this thing gets end in the B, nipped in the bud. Opponents, we're always looking for cracks with an S. We're always trying to see whether or not there's bulletin board material or whether or not there's a crack, a fissure, anything, any tiny way that we can take advantage of any weakness that our opponent has, whether it's regular season or postseason. And what happened with the Yankees yesterday, that's a crack, a little one. So you get in there. If you are the opposing team, you talk to your media, you say, hey, why don't we do some follow-up when you're in the Yankees clubhouse next time? Let's see how things are going between Judge and Boone. Let's see if there's any other animosity towards Boone. Let's see if there's any issues with what Judge said, with whether or not Judge is trying. We're looking for all this stuff, because any sort of advantage you can secure with what's going on the other side in the other clubhouse, you want to be a part of it. So you sit with Boone, you sit with Judge, and you say, gentlemen, seriously, what are we doing here? I don't know whether Aaron Judge is going to play the field again. This is Brian Cashman talking smartly. How do I know if you're going to play the field again, Aaron Judge? But Boone, we're not talking about that. When we tell you and talk about what the lineup is, when he's ready to play the field, we'll let you know. Until then, he's DH. It's not like Judge is going to be able to walk into the clubhouse and tell you, I'm ready to go, coach, put me in. I'm ready to play today. No, you do not put him at 9. That's the number, right field, pitcher, catcher, 1, 2, first baseman, 3 when you're scoring baseball, 4 second base, 5 third base, 6 shortstop. You with me? Is 6 to 3. Ground ball to shortstop. 7, 8, 9 left, center, right. Hello. Hey, P9. I was a big F9 guy. If it gets to 9, it's more of an F than a P. Now the 9 could come in and do it right behind the first baseman, and maybe that's a P, but the way I used to play, that would be an F for sure. Hey, you got it over the infield. That's an F, not a P. I digress. You don't go in because the lineups, the way they're posted, it's name, position, and then the batting order. So it would be the Aaron Judge's number, like Stanton would be 27 in the 4-hole, DH next to his name. Or right field, 27, 4-hole, 9. And so players see, oh, looks like I'm playing left today. Oh, I'm DHing today. What do you think? Aaron Judge is going to walk in and say, oh, I'm playing right field today. It doesn't work that way. It's totally predetermined. You meet with the player, you speak to the trainer, you speak to the doctors, you speak to your owner, you speak to your manager, you all get together, and then you say, okay, we're going to put Judge back in right field. But we're going to talk to Stanton, let him know he's going back to really focusing on DHing. We're doing the whole package. We're going to talk to Judge and say, tomorrow's the day. It's against this pitcher, against this team, and here's the reason why we think this makes sense in this ballpark, in this weather, all of it. And then the player would say, okay, I'm comfortable with that. And then you do the lineup. That's how it's going to work. So all of this noise that's going on, and we got caught, obviously. We did a segment where we were talking about the Yankee game, and we were just focusing on Boone's comments, and we didn't have Judge's comments yet because it didn't occur to me that Judge would go publicly against Boone. Because when you hear from your manager talk about it doesn't look like he's going to be back to fielding this year, really, you would expect Judge to say, hey, when told of that, and ask for a quote, which of course is going to happen because you've spoken to the player and told him what your manager is saying. The player is supposed to say, I am working absolutely as hard as I can to rehab. We will wait to see, but it doesn't matter. I have such confidence in my teammates. They will pick up the issues in fielding. They will replace me, but my bat, I feel comfortable, and having my bat in the lineup matters. And then you go mash 9 home runs, you win a game, and everyone's talking butterflies, unicorns, and roses, and World Series and pennants. Instead, PENNANTS, not pennants. Then you're good. Now you're bad. What a waste. Tying a franchise record with 9 home runs in a game that they had done back against the Brewers to show you how meaningful it is when the Brewers got absolutely rocked to start the season, which would foretell a terrible season by the Brew Crew, a team that's going to lose 100 games and not make the playoffs because against the Yankees over a weekend, they got crushed. I mean, manhandled by those torpedo bats. Who wants to remember that? I think you guys get my point, don't you? You really don't want different comments made by your player and your manager about the same concept because it's going to create follow-up questions. Forget the 3 meetings I had to have. Now the media is going to talk about it again today, and it's going to be a Megillah. I have an idea. It's not an epic idea, I grant you, but it is something I've been thinking about for a long time. I spent a lot of time thinking about weapons. And I'm not a gun guy at all, as I think you know. I'm not a knife guy, though I like cutting steak. I'm certainly not a hunter. I'm certainly not a gatherer. Maybe a collector. I have an idea. I believe that if you throw a bat at somebody during the game, whether you are on the bench, whether you're at the plate, whether you are standing at third base, if you take a bat and you throw it at a player, it is my belief that you should be suspended for 10 games. That's my thought. 10 games. Yesterday, MLB completely agreed with my thought. I had told you that Victor Robles was going to be suspended for what he did. Remember Victor Robles, the guy from the Mariners, the guy who was minor league rehab, playing in AAA, the Pacific Coast League? Remember, he hit by pitch, looked around, and then threw the bat toward the pitcher, and then the bench is cleared. Do you remember that? Do you remember the bags of sunflower seeds that Coca showed you on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel? Hit subscribe. Remember that? Well, that guy just got suspended 10 games by Major League Baseball. Except he's not really suspended 10 games. The way it works is you announce a suspension that is greater than the number of games that you know that the player is going to serve because you know the player is going to file an appeal, which Victor Robles did, and you know that in the negotiation after the file of the appeal, the number of games is going to be made smaller in order for the player to drop the appeal and start serving. But it's all very strategic because the player's not going to want to drop the appeal until he's ready to serve, and the Mariners won't want him to serve until after September 1st for sure when the rosters get expanded. And you're not going to get an expedited grievance hearing. This is not going to go to hearing. So here's the situation with the Mariners and Major League Baseball. They've suspended him for 10 games pending a hearing. The hearing is never going to happen. What you'll read about on August 31st, or 11 days from now, is that Victor Robles has settled his grievance against Major League Baseball and has agreed to serve a blank game suspension starting now. The now, though, will happen to coincide when the Mariners can call up a bunch of guys, because it'll be after September 1st when the rosters expand, therefore covering the fact that they're playing a day late, a dollar short without Victor. Now, Victor's been hurt. There's no question about it. Victor had a phenomenal apology on Instagram. Coming off a long rehab and being away from the game for most of the season has been physically and mentally challenging. Adding to that, the recent passing of my mother, bringing out the dead mother, that is a sympathy card. Love the placement of that in this statement because I'm beginning to feel for him. Let's see where that goes. Adding to that, the recent passing of my mother has been incredibly hard, and I've been doing my best to hold it together. That's not an excuse, but some context I feel you deserve to understand where I'm coming from. Let me be as clear as I can be. I am sorry when someone's mother dies. I don't want my mother to die, ever. It'd be great. However, when your mother dies, your father dies, even a child, which is the single worst possible thing that can ever happen. There's a certain thing called a law. We have laws in our land, and the laws are pretty clear that we know life stinks. We know that you're going to have grieving, you're going to have pain, you're going to have maybe a modicum of pleasure from time to time, like every other day until it's once a week, and then once every 2 weeks, and then once a month, and then, forget it, don't even see you. I get all that, but here's what you can't do. You can't turn your pain into someone else's pain. Now, you want to do it psychologically? No laws against it. You want to be the type of person who is walking around with a cloud over their head saying, oh, woe is me, my mother died, I feel like crap, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm grieving, I don't know what stage I'm in the denial, I'm in the, it's whatever, grieve, whatever. I'm in. Find people, find friends, find therapists. You know what you can't do? You can't walk down the street, look at someone walking with their mother and say, hey, I don't like you. Boom, punch him in the face. Not allowed. You can't show you're grieving by hitting somebody else. You can't show you're grieving by, the guy's money was hanging out of his pocket and my mother had just passed away and I was feeling like I had some funeral expenses to pay for, so I snatched the money. Sorry, that's a crime. I'm not trying. Let's not get crazy and say that I have zero feelings about people losing their parents or losing their kids or losing somebody in their lives. Not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you don't get to pick up a bat and throw it at someone. A bat is a deadly weapon. That's assault with a deadly weapon. You want to see charges filed? Not going to happen in this case. That hits the player. That player gets hurt, permanently injured. You don't think there'll be civil suits, maybe criminal suits? You bet your sweet pipsters there will be. You think baseball can allow that to happen? What is the context in your mind where you say to somebody, oh, I get why they committed that crime. I get it. Well, the law allows for a context that you can talk about if you so choose. You can plead not guilty by reason of insanity. If you would like to say that you was such a crime of passion, oh no, sorry, that's still a crime. If you want to say not guilty because I'm crazy as a loon, okay, you're going to have to prove it. And a baseball player whose mother died, therefore he picked up a bat, context, threw it at somebody, context, sorry, not good enough, not going to happen. Again, Coca, I'm not trying to come off as this sort of angry, harsh guy about dead parents at all. I understand why Victor wanted to tell you that he's frustrated. I get it. But guess what? Major League Baseball, they didn't care either. When they handed out that 10-game suspension, knowing very well it's going to be reduced. Now, where do you think it's going to get reduced to? What do you think is the going rate for reduction given any outside excuses for why this behavior took place? What's your guess? Hurry up, studio audience. We don't have all day. It's just so you want to talk to Samson Wednesday. Let's go. Oh, yeah, right. Doesn't come into account. The reason why MLB and Victor Robles will be able to settle is the commissioner's office and the players union. You know what they don't like doing? They don't like full-on grievances that go to hearing. They have to prepare. There's witnesses. There's testimony. It's a pain in the tuchus. It is always better to settle grievances. Funny side note, do you know at the end of the collective bargaining agreement negotiation, when you're getting really close to a new deal, and MLB and the union have like 10 outstanding grievances on various things because grievances are filed all the time during the course of a year. Do you know that at the end of every collective bargaining agreement, there's like this global settlement? Well, as part of this kumbaya collective bargaining agreement, we will have settled grievances A through Gimel. It's just true. It happens because we can't stand the thought of going through it. So crazy. So this is one of those things. MLB, when they're suspending a player for behavior unbecoming an officer, what you do is you say a number that's too high, knowing that you'll give a little. The union will get to say they got a little. The player will say, oh, thank you, union. I thought I was going to be gone for 10 days. Now it's only 8. I feel really happy about myself. And we all move on. It happens all the time. This doesn't make me at all. Now, I appreciate that you're watching Nothing Personal and listening. But this analysis, if you're not getting this analysis anywhere else, then what is everyone else doing? This is about as obvious as the sunrise. So much so that I'm going to give you a wait to see. And I'm going to get to sound smart because when I win a wait to see on davidsamsonpodcast.com and you hit the tracking document and you look at all the wait to sees and you look at the yeses, the nos, the pendings, when you look at the picks of the day, P.U. Rangers, you stink. Spoiler alert. When you look at what movie I review every day or what my word of the day is, or you just want to buy a pint glass, you will see under 8/20/25 the following official way to see. Robles will appeal. That's not fair. He already appealed, but I swear to God, when I put this document together yesterday and sent it to Coca, he had not yet appealed. But Robles will appeal. And the over-under in the games that he will have to serve is 5.5. Which way are you going? Now, DraftKings doesn't have a market on this, but man, why not? How great would that be? Over under on reduction in the appeals settlement process. I'm setting it at 5.5 because you may think cut it in half, 10-5. Then you take the under. Not today, folks. It's over. Take the over. Victor Robles will settle his appeal, but will be suspended for a number greater than 5.5 games. What does that mean? It's not going down below 6. If it's 6, 7, 8, or 9, wait to see winner. If it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 0, no chance toilet pants, then wait to see is a loser. That's my official one. You can't throw bats. Here's another just a little nugget for you. It may sound strange to you. Why is it that what Victor Robles did at the minor leagues, how can Major League Baseball have the right to discipline him? Well, did you know that right now, Rob Manfred made some changes? There's no more minor league association. It's all called One Baseball. Guess who runs the minor leagues? The big leagues. Rob Manfred runs it all. He went full Year of the Turtle. He climbed up a mountain, looked around, and said, minor leagues, I'll take it. And so he did. If this were the good old days, do you know who'd be disciplining Victor Robles? It would be the PCL, because that's where he played. Now, would MLB speak to the PCL and talk about the discipline they'd like to have imposed? I wonder whether there's that level of control back in the day. Yes. But now it's cleaner. Now MLB just gets to announce what happens in the minor leagues, and they're in control of it. They're in control. Make no mistake. Major League Baseball in control of its minor league system. Hard stop. But you can't throw bats. Stop. Coca, we're getting on a plane. Coca and I are going to London together. We're not going to sit near each other, and we're not going to stay at the same hotel, and we probably won't eat any meals together. But you know what we will do? We're going to the Super Bowl together. We're going to do Nothing Personal live from London. Is that even possible? That we'll take Nothing personal on a tour, and one of the tour stops could be London as part of Super Bowl week. It can't be. Super Bowl is an American institution. There is no way that the Super Bowl will ever be played outside of the United States. You can't do it. Well, guess what? Peter Mandelson doesn't agree with that. You may not know that name, but you will soon. He is the UK ambassador to the United States. He lives in the United States. He's recent career diplomat, good guy. Guess what his life's work is? He wants to get the Super Bowl to London. Well, I could say that my life's work is to dunk a basketball. Good luck, Dave, unless you can lower the hoop. Good luck, Peter, unless you accept a regular season game. There are regular season games in London. Good luck, unless you can get a playoff game. A playoff game, that would make absolutely no sense, where someone has to go and there's no off days and schlepping over to London with no break. No. Not going to happen, ever. Hold on. Good luck, Peter, unless you get the Super Bowl and you get exactly what you want. Why do I think that this is definitely happening, that I'm actually ready to cash in miles to get Coco a plane ticket? Because Roger Goodell already, we got to listen to people. One of my favorite things that none of us do, when people are talking, you should listen. When Rob Manfred's talking to you about geographic realignment and expansion, you'd be well served to listen and assume that people aren't talking off the top of their head, totally irresponsibly, without any prep, without any script in front of them, talking what's in their mind. You have to assume that they're doing things purposefully. When Roger Goodell clearly said that he is going to be aggressive as it relates to international growth, don't forget the first game internationally in London was only 2007. We're not even 20 years past that, and now there's games all over Europe practically every week. And once you go to 18 weeks, 18 games, there's going to be international games every week. Book it. Roger Goodell said, we've always traditionally tried to play a Super Bowl in an NFL city. That was always sort of a reward for the cities that have NFL franchises. What he meant is it's the reward for the public financing of a stadium, that what you say to the public or to the officials when they're putting $1 billion into the stadium, you say, hey, Kathy, you get a new stadium in Buffalo, we'll work hard to get you a Super Bowl. Wink, wink, because owners really want to go to Buffalo for the Super Bowl. No chance. Move on. But then he said, this is Goodell, but things change. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that happens one day. And what he was referring to was an international Super Bowl. This was during a fan forum in London. Do you think that he wasn't prepped on how to answer that question? Do you think that he felt the need to lead Londoners down a path where there's going to be no payoff? Do you think that if there weren't going to be a Super Bowl in London, he would have answered that question slightly differently, which is, hey, who knows about going forward? But right now, we are solely focused on the U.S. and all of the new stadiums, and there's always new stadiums. There's always negotiations going on, and there's certain players owners love to be come February in their yachts. But he didn't. Instead, he said something quite different, which was, hey, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Hold on, Roger, you're the commissioner. What exactly does surprise you? You're in charge. So, you also have an owner. Who would be the right owner to be a spokesperson for a Super Bowl in London? Who would that be? Would it not be Shad Khan, the owner of the Jaguars? Would he not be the perfect person to carry that water? Would he not be the perfect person to get people ready for the idea that London can host a Super Bowl? I would say so. And how about the London mayor? The London mayor is also named Khan, coming out and saying, hey, you bring the Super Bowl to London, I got news for you. It's going to solidify us as the sporting capital of the world. We want it. It's important to us. You get owners, then you get mayors, then you get commissioners, and before you know it, the last thing you need is broadcasters. Why is that an issue? Because the broadcasters love the idea of an all-day pregame leading up to a 6 p.m. kickoff, which is really 6:17 on Super Bowl Sunday. People like to barbecue. You're watching 10 hours of programming. Well, with the time difference, you would not be able to play a 6:17 Eastern Super Bowl game. That would be 11:17 p.m. kickoff in London. Not going to happen ever because it would defeat the purpose because all the Londoners and Europe people would say this is absurd. So therefore, the game would have to be at 6 o'clock London time, which is 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And you know what? We're going all night pre-game. No problem. The NFL is so strong, they can put pre-game on starting at 3 a.m. on the West Coast time without an issue. People wake up to watch it. You want to start pre-game Sunday morning? It's breakfast at the Super Bowl. You heard of breakfast at Wimbledon? Breakfast at the Super Bowl. We start up at 6 a.m. Eastern time, go right to 1 p.m. kickoff. Everybody's happy. And the amount of money that the NFL brings in by having a Super Bowl in London is way greater than any lost revenue by not bringing it to New Orleans or Miami, because you always have next year. But if you announce a London Super Bowl with 5 years out, you will have 5 years of Europe growth, the likes of which you will not have seen since '07. You will have sponsorship interaction and revenue growth that you have not had since '07. You will have the ability to broadcast this and get rights to the broadcast internationally in a way at dollars you haven't had. Streamers who have international capabilities. Can you imagine for 1 second when you do your media deals and opt out of them, which is what the NFL is going to do in just a couple of years, and you opt out and part of your new media strategy is that one of the streamers, Netflix, Apple, Peacock, name it, they get the Super Bowl and the international rights to the first ever Super Bowl in London. It's cha-ching. I'm talking about the level of cha-ching that the NFL wants that furthers the distance between itself and the NBA. It is exactly what the NFL should be doing. It is exactly what the NFL will be doing. This is not me telling you this is some pie in the sky. Forget about it. They're doing a trial balloon to see how Americans will react to it. The NFL doesn't give a good GD what Americans think about a Super Bowl internationally because there's a whole world out there outside of America, and the NFL wants their money. They're already getting our money. They've already got the broadcast deals, the fan affinity. They've got the franchise valuations. They've done it. They're moving on to greater frontiers. And don't you dare tell me, don't you write a letter to Roger Goodell or an email where you say, "Hi, my name is Steven. I shan't be watching the Super Bowl should you bring it outside of our borders. The Super Bowl is meant to be an American game by a Canadian." Can you imagine that, eh? Can you imagine, if a Canadian wrote an email saying you cannot have a Super Bowl outside of North America? Coca, it's happening. Book it. Let's do a review, please. Time for the review. I told you I'd watch Eddington, and I did. You know where I am with Ari Aster. He's talented. And you know that it can be scary, but I've watched his movies. I reviewed and enjoyed Beau is Afraid. I didn't watch Midsummer, but I think I did watch Hereditary. I can't exactly remember. I'd have to check my books. What I do know is a bunch of you called me and said, "Hey, please watch Eddington." And I said, with Joaquin Phoenix, of course. Then I said, with Pedro Pascal, my God, that's how to get a movie greenlit, although it's Ari Aster and Joaquin Phoenix. And then I looked at the movie while I'm watching. I said, wait, Joaquin's wife looks familiar. Holy cow, that's Emma Stone, Academy Award winner. Now we're on to something. What's this? Wait a minute. Who's Joaquin Phoenix's deputy? That's the guy from Yellowstone, Luke Grimes. That's the amazingly good-looking guy, Yellowstone, the son, Dutton's son. Yeah, remember Luke Grimes? Turns out he may be a one-note actor, and there's nothing wrong with being a one-note actor. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But that note is sort of Yellowstone-y, and it looked weird with him being a deputy in a very small town called Eddington, and some weird stuff's going on. It's not like Freaky Tales weird stuff. It's not supernatural weird stuff, but there's some sort of problem happening between COVID, between somebody who's a masker, an anti-masker, a vax, an anti-vax, and an all-around general weird Joaquin Phoenix, because when is he not weird? But he plays weird in this, and it's not weird like, oh, he's overacting or oh, he's not trying. This is him showing us that he is in Daniel Day-Lewis's category as an actor, and you knew him when he was the little son on Parenthood. Every movie Joaquin Phoenix does is good. I'm ignoring Pedro Pascal because I'm a little oversaturated with him. But then I see Austin Butler, and I'm thinking, wow, is he getting past Elvis? Because he's sort of being Elvis, except as a cult leader in this movie. So it seems like now he lost the Elvis drawl. That's really just a Canadian, isn't it? Hi, give me some pasta. No, I don't know what that is. But Austin Butler's in this movie playing a cult leader and a conspiracy theorist talking about all the things that could be going wrong in a COVID world. It is a freaky movie, Eddington. It's long, but you'll make it through. The payoff is quite something. There is violence. It's Ari Aster. There is fear. There is a score to die for. But at the end, when the credits roll, you say, I just watched something. And we don't get that every day. Sometimes a movie ends and we think to ourselves, that was just not worth the price of admission. Eddington is worth twice the price of admission. So watch it. Enjoy it. Tomorrow's Thursday. Yeah. You know what that means? I get to review one of my top 100. Don't forget to watch The Usual Suspects. It's coming. I watched it since last week, so it must have been this weekend. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Kaiser Soze. It's a good movie. I would like every Giants fan right now who's watching, and there's about, I would say, 5% of you are New Yorkers, and therefore 80% of the 5% are likely Giants fans. Who would blame you? Very hard to be a Jets fan. For this next segment, I would like all of you, don't hit pause because we're live, but I'd like you to put on your Daniel Jones jersey, the one that you burned up, the one that you threw away, the one that you can't believe how excited you were when he was your top first-round draft pick, and then when he was first starting the game. And then you realized over the years that we have zero chance of being good with him because he's not close to good enough. So we're going to demote him before Tommy DeVito will get above him on the depth chart. We're going to go full Shadur Sanders on his tuchus, and then we're going to grant him his release. Then he's going to go to Minnesota, Daniel Jones, play behind Sam Darnold. I would assume Daniel Jones on the Vikings took maybe 10 snaps, and then he became a free agent. And then before you know it, he was signing on with the Indianapolis Colts. And you're saying to yourself, that's a good depth piece. He'd be a good guy to go right behind Anthony Richardson. With a top pick, obviously, a very well thought of prospect in the NFL. This makes perfect sense. Until yesterday, when Daniel Jones was named the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, and it was done in a way that would make Anthony Richardson have every reason in the world to think to himself, what in the name of holy gobsmackers just happened? Because the coach of the Indianapolis Colts was very clear about something. This is not about naming a week one starter. What the Indianapolis Colts have done is they have named a starter for the entire season. And what he said was that I'm not really focused on the results of week one or on missed passes. It is critical for Daniel Jones to have the rope, the flexibility, the runway to be Daniel Jones. Because he's going to be our quarterback. He's given us the best chance to win the 2 games that we're supposed to win this year. And don't you forget it, that when he has a bad game, don't come running to me thinking I'm going to make a switch to Anthony Richardson. I'm not going to do it. So, does that make sense to you? Does it make sense in any way that you would have Daniel Jones starting over Anthony Richardson? What do you think the media did? Like immediately, they went right to Anthony Richardson. And I tip my cap to you, AR. Here's what he said. No hard feelings. It's never personal. He was close. I can't let me not being the starter stop me from growing to be the person and player that I'm supposed to be. I just got to stay focused and keep grinding. Remember, this guy, Anthony Richardson, was the 4th overall pick in 2023. The guy is at a hard time staying healthy. He doesn't play a lot of games. He doesn't play a lot of games in a row. It's impossible to have consistency with him under center, over center, by center, side center. So Daniel Jones, in theory, man of steel, is going to be there and be able to perform admirably in a mediocre way at best. Do you think that the quarterback situation has been handled in Indianapolis? Well, if you're Anthony Richards' agent, you are less than happy. Anthony Richards' agent, who is a nobody in terms of agents in the NFL, he decided, I called him Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, thank you. I forgot the last syllable. Anthony Richardson's agent has made this situation incredibly difficult and complicated by coming out and saying trust is a big factor, and that is at best questionable right now when asked about Richardson's benching. Anthony came back and made the improvements in the areas he needed to improve, and by all accounts, he had a great camp. Do you think Anthony Richardson's agent is speaking on behalf of Anthony Richardson? Do you think that they had a plan in place where AR himself would be very good, quote, take the high road, but really he was angry, frustrated, and generally PO'd? So he had his agent come out, because who cares what the agent says, and come out and say, hey, there's a big problem now between AR and the front office of the Colts. Do you think that it's possible that players and agents conspire to come up with a plan where the player doesn't look bad to the fans and looks like a good teammate inside his clubhouse, but that the agent carries the water of negativity and makes it clear that there's a trade that's going to be demanded, or there's some sort of activity or action that needs to be taken in order to make this right? You bet your bananas it does. You do not see a player and an agent with opposite statements that aren't fully coordinated, unless the next day you see a player with an announcement that they've moved on from that agent. You are not allowed to take a position against your player as an agent unless it's for the sole purpose of actually getting more money, more playing time, a positional change, a trade, whatever the case is. If you and your player are not saying the same thing, it's a dance. The Colts cannot be swept up in this dance. They have to have conviction over the decision they made. The most important thing that you need to look out for before you call the Indianapolis Colts a joke of a franchise is that they are actually playing Daniel Jones week in, week out, and short of injury, he stays the quarterback. If he goes 12 for 26 week one with 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions, and everyone stands up and says we'd have a much better chance of winning with AR, and then they make a quarterback change early, then you know that everyone's full of manure. And that's not what you want to be, especially when you're running the team for the first time after your father died, and there's a group of 3 children who are running this team top to bottom, from marketing to PR to sales to presidency. They're going to do everything they can to appear professional and allow the lack of professionalism to simply live with the agents. Because I can spin what that agent said if I'm a team president, and I don't care if I know that he's on the same page as his player. I still have the ability to spin that to the media and to other players inside the clubhouse saying, there's an agent you want no part of. Because if you think that the strategy of divide and conquer is going to work on us making a decision on our quarterback play, then you are delusional. You don't realize that we don't react to the things that you say, and it only makes you look like a fool. This story isn't over, because we're going to get to follow Daniel Jones, which is why I want you to wear his Giants jersey, unless you really need to go out and spend money and buy a Colts jersey, which those are pretty cool, the white jerseys with the horseshoe. I'm in. But you put on the OG Daniel Jones Giants jersey and watch week 1, and then we'll get to readdress this right around mid-September when Daniel Jones is benched in favor of AR. It's going to happen. Nothing personal pick of the day. The Houston Astros can't score. They can't score. I don't understand why I don't take the under in every Astros game. I can't figure out what exactly the problem is. They lost again yesterday night, 1-0 on a walk-off walk. There's nothing like a walk-off walk to get the crowd burning, to get executives jumping up and down for joy. When a guy can't find the plate, you load the bases and score and you win, and you get to go home. Hell yeah. Bring me a walk-off walk any day of the week and 7 times on Tuesday. But that wasn't our pick of the day. How can the Rangers keep losing? What happened? When I got to learn, Coke. I got to learn. I got to give up. I got to give it up. I cannot be the one to keep going down with the ship because of my stubbornness. I mean, I could go with Corbin Day for the rest of time because we're going to win more than we're not because the Rangers can't score. The Rangers can't win. They lost to Seth Lugo and the Royals last night. Meanwhile, I may be wrong, Coca, but while we were sleeping, let me just do a quick checky of the standings currently in MLB. Oh, yeah. Texas is 62-65, and the Royals are now 65-61. The Royals are 2.5 games out of a playoff spot behind the Mariners and the Red Sox, and Texas is now 6 games back. They can't even send out playoff invoices. They have faded so fast, so hard. They are 6 games back, only a half a game ahead of Tampa, for crying out loud. They're seriously only 2.5 games ahead of Baltimore. Oy, oy, oy. And then a full 3 games behind the Guardians, who aren't even in a playoff spot. Hold on. It's better. They're only 3.5 behind the Royals now that they lost to the Royals. Oh, wait a minute. The Royals aren't in a playoff spot either. The Rangers are absolutely royally screwed. They've played 127 games. They only have 35 games left. You better get H-O triple, and I mean right now, or else you're D-O-N-E. And so's my nothing personal pick of the day. We're down to 110 and 106 because we are as cold as foreigner's ice. The Milwaukee Brewers lost to the Cubs yesterday. Did you see that? It was a doubleheader, and the Brewers lost both sides. The Cubs are now leading the series 2-1. Remember that 5-game series where I said that if the Cubs win 4-1, which is an unbelievable series win, winning 4-5, then the Brewers lead over the Cubs is down to 5 games from 8. Well, they've won 2 out of 3, and now they've gained a game, so they're down to 7. But guess what? There's still 2 games left, and guess who's going for the Brew Crew? Mizorowski, who makes life miserable for the opponent's teams. He's the rookie who made the All-Star game. You didn't want him to make the All-Star game, but he was good enough to make the All-Star game. He'd only made like 4 appearances before the All-Star game, and then they put him on the IL. They wanted to rest him to keep him fresh. Well, now he's back. He's pitching. And my old friend from the San Diego Padres is pitching for the Cubs, Colin Ray, the guy we traded for and then sent back when we said that his elbow was so bad, his shoulder was so bad, he'll never pitch again in the big leagues. And that was 9 years ago. Way to go, Dr. Samson. You really nailed that one, didn't you? Although it indirectly led to me getting to know Dan Straley and acquiring Dan Straley. I don't regret that, Dan. I don't regret it. But 9 extra years in the big leagues for Colin? Come on, man. The Brewers, trying to snap a streak, are minus 115. Remember, you have to protect after you've had a big winning streak from getting a losing streak, but then they beat the Cubs, but now they lost a doubleheader, which is rare. Normally, doubleheaders split. And don't forget, the Cubs now lead the season series, and they only have 2 games left to play, which means the Brewers, in order to even gain another extra game, need to win out against the Cubs. I think they're going to do it, Coca. So therefore, our nothing personal pick of the day. We're back to you, Brew Crew. We're taking the Brewers, who are minus 115 over Colin Ray and the Cubs, as the Brewers try and attempt to rebound from being swept in a doubleheader that was Tuckerless. And don't forget, we got to wait to see that Tucker's going to be back in the lineup today. We'll let you know tomorrow how that goes. Meanwhile, we have an entire show coming up where you're going to get to talk to Samson. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It is Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. You have come across the second hour of our show on a Wednesday, and you know what that means. Play it, Coca.
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So you want to talk to Samson? That's me, except this is all based on a character in a movie called Half-Baked. If you haven't watched Half-Baked, what are you doing? You can be 169th baked or 69th baked, and there's a character who everyone wants to talk to named Samson. So we thought, why wouldn't you want to talk to Samson? And you can. All you have to do is call 631-377-4869. That number again, 631-377-DPS 4869. Leave a message. What we will do every Wednesday in the second hour is we'll answer your questions. Now, if you're shy and you don't like the sound of your voice and you prefer the movement of your fingers, have at it. David P. Samson on Twitter. DMs are open. David P. Samson on Instagram. Feel free to message me. I can't guarantee I'll see it. Can't guarantee I'll hear your voicemail, although if it's between 20 and 40 seconds, I may. But there's a lot of ways to reach me. Give me a question. It may make the show. Your voice may make the show because we're going to play the voicemails and then answer the questions. And we can't waste another second. You know why? We are absolutely overbooked today. So thank you for continuing to want to be involved in the show. We appreciate you that you download, you rate, you subscribe, you tell your friends about Nothing Personal. We're on TikTok and Instagram. You can find us, Twitter, X, YouTube. You are making it so we set records every single week, every single month, and it's all because of you. So we might as well keep going. Let's hear who the first voice is.
David, thank you for trading Logan Morrison to the Seattle Mariners in the past. It has created a love of niche baseball players that was spawned before then, but definitely continued since then. Thank you for all of our actions to getting there. I bring up a niche baseball player because extensions aren't just for the superstars. Someone like a Josh Naylor, someone like a Taylor Ward, when they are close to free agency, maybe a year away, or maybe this upcoming offseason, how do those discussions get taken away from, hey, we're going to take you and pay you more than your market value, which isn't even at the market yet? So for someone like Logan Morrison or a Josh Naylor or a Taylor Ward, how would you approach those conversations? Thanks, David.
I'm sorry, was that Logan? I'm about to text him right now, although I wouldn't think that he's awake, but it really doesn't matter what time. But do we think that Logan Morrison himself just reached out? He's a friend of the show, so he would know the phone number to call. It didn't sound like his voice, but could it have been like a friend or a relative? Because can you imagine having an example of trading Logan Morrison to Seattle as a reason that anybody got all jazzed up about baseball or about Logan Morrison or about trades? But let's talk about this. Were we ever going to extend Logan Morrison? Logan, you and I have talked about this, so I'm talking about it right on the air because all's fair in love and media, Twitter boy. Right, Logan? My man. Love you, Logan. Yeah, we did not consider a long-term deal for Logan Morrison because we did not feel that we would actually get the performance out of him over the course of the years. And there was a big divide between what he valued himself at and what we valued him at. And the funny part is when you're doing negotiations with free agents, it's not really about whether they're superstars or whether they're marginal players or whether what you call them, I think you call them niche players. That's not the issue. We mark to market every single player with reckless indifference toward are they superstars or not. It's how good they are. It's what they will command on the open market from us. We don't put down numbers next to a player of what they're worth according to what we think another team is going to pay, because that's the whole point. We don't care what another team is going to pay a player. We only care how we evaluate the player, and therefore that's the number we're not comfortable going beyond. So when we have a disagreement with a player, which is pretty much every time because players want you to overpay and you want to underpay, and you try to meet somewhere in the middle of actually paying the worth, hoping for the same, similar, if not better production going forward. The thing is, the meeting of the minds that takes place with the player really only happens when you perceive that you've overpaid for the player, and the player says, all right, I'm in like Flynn. You gave me the extra year. You gave me the extra $3 million per year in average annual value. Whatever the case is, you gave me a suite on the road. You gave me family room access for my family. I'm trying to think of every Juan Soto perk that the Mets gave. I can't think of them all right now, but that's another way to get a meeting of the minds. Just never say no, and whatever the player wants. I remember clear as day with Logan Morrison. He was a player who, when we negotiated with, had this idea that he was to be paid in the upper echelon of players. Not at the top, but in the upper echelon. And our view was Logan Morrison, we loved Logan. We loved having him on the team. But he was an above average major league player. That's it. And I don't say that's it I don't mean that to come off as negative, because who of us would not dream of being a slightly above average Major League Baseball player? Because definitionally it means you're in Major League Baseball. How great is that? My aspiration, I'd like to be a way below average Major League player. No problem. Can't hit for power. Got some speed, very good eye, good glove, not scared of the ball. Below average, but major leaguer. So the whole point of finding a what you call niche player and thinking that we would attach ourselves differently or approach them differently about contract extensions is misguided, because it's not accurate. We would, again, approach those players the same way we'd approach any player, which is, do we want to sign him? If so, for how long? And the number that we want to sign him for. Hard stop. Man, what a thank you for that question. I truly cannot get over the fact that we just were able to talk about Logan Morrison and him being traded to Seattle. Whew. We got one on Instagram, I believe, at David P. Samson. Hi, David. First time, long time. When it comes to equipment for MLB players like bats, gloves, etc., are these provided by the club, or are players responsible for their, he means his, own equipment, or some combination of the two? This is one that people ask pretty often. Where does all the stuff come from? When a player has gloves and spikes and batting gloves, and they've got BP stuff, and they've got uniforms, and they've got special spikes for special occasions. The Cal Raleigh chest protector from the Little League game the other night against the Mets on Sunday night in Williamsport. Let me give it to you. Should I go one by one, Coca? Should I go down the inventory? Baseballs, we buy them. Uniforms, we buy them. Now, we don't pay wholesale, that's for sure. But we have a supplier. There's a Major League Baseball supplier. It used to be Majestic, now it's Nike. And your job as a team, you have to buy the uniforms, the official team uniforms from these companies. Now, it's true that Nike does deals with many of the individual teams. Hey, we will give you $300,000 worth of product if you give us a behind the plate sign for a half inning. There is negotiating that you can do to lower what it is that your cost is for Nike product, as an example. When a player comes to spring training, or when a player gets called up, or when a player goes to their home stadium for the first time, they look in the locker and they've got multiple Nike white jerseys. Then on the road, multiple gray jerseys. On the road, multiple alternate jerseys. On the home, alternate Friday orange jerseys. All of that, the players do not pay for at all. Except If at the end of the season or if during the course of the season, a player wants to send an autograph or sign a jersey, they need to ask the team, may I take this jersey? Because the players don't own their jerseys. Now, it's not like the Miami Heat where some guy's going to go in and steal them all and resell them and go to prison. Generally, what happens is the clubhouse manager has all the jerseys at the end of the year and then says to the president, what do you want to do with the jerseys? And I say, I want to give them to employees. Or I say, I want to sell some of them. Whatever it is, they're our jerseys. We always, each year, would give one jersey away to each player for them to take home at the end of the season. It was our little gift. Take your own jersey, frame it. It's super cool 20 years from now to have a man cave or a person cave where you have framed every jersey that you played for every team you played for. It's cool. That's jerseys. Gloves. That's another thing that's needed. We do not buy the gloves for the player. We do not supply gloves to the player. Some players have to buy their gloves from Wilson or Rawlings. Some players get their gloves given to them for free by Wilson or Rawlings in order to wear that brand of glove. Depending on the player, it's like a sponsorship. Players go out and try to figure out which glove they should use, but they've been using that since 8th grade. So very often what these glove companies are doing is they're trying to get all the young people in baseball to use certain kind of gloves, all the little leaguers to use certain kind of gloves, because it becomes your glove, and a glove is an extension of your hand when you're a player. You got to love the glove. Generally, when you get to the big leagues, you're going to love the glove that got you to the show. If you're a Rawlings guy, you're going to be a Rawlings guy. If you're a Wilson guy, you're going to be a Wilson guy. I guess until you win a gold glove from Rawlings, and then you get to have a special glove, and you may switch over at that point. But gloves are super, super personal, taken care of by players, agents, and the glove companies. Funny enough, have you ever bought a new baseball glove, Coca, and it's super stiff, and you get all excited, you oil it, and then you wrap string around it with a ball in it, you put it under your mattress because you're trying to break in your glove? Because an unbroken in glove, you can't have a catch with, you can't play in the field. They've got to be broken in, and players have their own view of how to break in their glove. They do it in their own way. We got a machine in the clubhouse that when a player would come with a new glove and say, hey, I need this to be my gamer fell apart, which we spent plenty of time doing surgery on players' gamers because their glove, the strings fray, they fall off, it's old, it's crappy, and we want to make it good again because the player's comfortable with it. But when a new glove comes, we've got a break-in machine. Now, that doesn't get past safe doors. You don't get like assets, but it breaks in your glove automatically, immediately. You don't need to sleep with it under your bed for like 2 nights with a lump, thinking that this is better than the tooth fairy. When you wake up, de-string it, and all of a sudden the glove is closed enough that when you oil it again, you can grip it, rip it, and hold it. We got the machine that does it for you like automatically, which I think is sad because it's so cool to break in your own glove. Spikes. That's all you. Players take their own spikes. They do their own spike deals. We do not provide spikes. Bats. Strange, but true. We provide bats. Teams pay for bats. You get to know what your players want because the bats are personalized, and you'll get a bat that's a 32-32. It says Giancarlo Stanton, or a 34-31. It says, Jason Giambi, or a 38-35, it says Alphonse Soriano, whatever. There's measurements. It's sort of like what you're comfortable with because a bat is your baton. Some people like long, slow, not slow, long, short, long, thin, fat, nubbed, tubbed, wrapped, torpedoed. There's all sorts of ways bats can be made. You like it from this company, that company. We speak to the players. We know what they want. We order the bats. When a bat breaks, it goes to Major League Baseball to get examined. Why did it break? Is there a cork, etc.? If it doesn't break, the player has it, can keep it, cannot keep it, can use it. We will give some bats to the players to take with them for the offseason so they've got bats when they want to hit in the cage, but the bats are ours. What other equipment? Gloves, bats. What else did you ask about? I think that's pretty much everything, isn't it, Coca? Did I miss any? Thank you for that question on Instagram. Let's go back to a voicemail now.
Hi, David and Matthew. This is Chad from South Dakota. I didn't hear you speak about it on Monday, and I was surprised. The Green Bay Packers announced that they are canceling season tickets for season ticket holders that are not actually using their tickets and are presumably selling them on a third market. Curious what your thoughts are on that. I would actually assume you are totally for this, as why should fans be making money off of your tickets? But I'm curious to what you have to say about it. Other teams have done similar types of things, but Green Bay is kind of special as their waiting list is 150,000 plus. So just curious on it. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
I appreciate any question about the Green Bay Packers. Let me do a little discussing of this issue, because you're talking about the secondary market, you're talking about ticket brokers, ticket resellers, etc. When you own something, when you're putting on an event, whether it's a baseball game or a football game or whether it's a play, whatever it is, and it's ticketed, or a concert, you have to put down a price. And what you do is you try to do dynamic pricing as much as possible, which is when demand goes up and supply is going down, prices are going to go up. When demand is light and supply stays hot and heavy and in abundance, you got to lower the price, because eventually the market's going to talk. And I want the market to talk, and I'm going to live with that. If it's a great game, if it's a great pitching matchup, if we've done well, it's an exciting playoff game with playoff implications, I want to be able to charge as much as I can. But that's for individual tickets. When you're doing season tickets, you do it in advance. Like right now, we talked about this with the Cardinals. You've done your season ticket pricing for next year right now. There is a team who's going to win the World Series this year, and they're going to hope that they could change their ticket prices after they win the World Series. And there are some areas, some seats that are unsold where you can change your ticket prices after you've had a good October. But the majority of season ticket holders have already renewed at a price you've promised them, whether your team makes the playoffs or not. The reason why you want season ticket holders is that you want revenue certainty. It's sort of like cost certainty when you sign a player to a deal before they get to arbitration, in order to know what you're going to have to pay that player during arbitration, because it's not up to the arbitrators. It's already in a contract. And sometimes you get screwed because the player gets hurt or stinks. And sometimes you have a great benefit because the player is an MVP all-star and your team wins a World Series and you already have them settled for arbitration. Cost certainty, revenue certainty. The revenue certainty is, hey, we have 10,000 season ticket holders. We know exactly what they paid because they've paid, and we know exactly, therefore, what our base level ticket revenue is. Therefore, we can make assumptions on how many individual sales, group sales, partial season ticket plans will get sold over the course of the offseason. If we sign a good free agent, if we don't trade away our players, there could be more excitement that could add to more season ticket holders. If we do make a trade, people are going to be upset and try to cancel. We're not going to let them, but we're not going to get any new season ticket sales. You basically go through all of this with your sales department and with your baseball department, believe it or not, as reffed and umpired by the team president. When you want to show Major League Baseball and your banks, your creditors, and your competitors that you've got a successful season ticket base and a growing season ticket base, you sell tickets to ticket resellers, because ticket resellers buy in bulk. Ticket resellers will buy season tickets. They'll buy like 50 season tickets knowing they're going to eat it like 70 of the games. But the 10 or 11 games that are amazing over the course of a season in baseball, they are going to make all that money back by increasing the price of the tickets and having people pay for them. because ticket resellers are in a business. And sometimes in business, you have loss leaders. A loss leader is a Wednesday game against the Cardinals. A loss eliminator is a weekend game against the Yankees when you're about to get to 500. I'm giving you two examples where teams raise their season ticket numbers. They offer their tickets to ticket resellers and don't believe any team president who tells you they don't know whether any ticket resellers own season tickets. They're lying to you. We knew every single ticket reseller who was buying our season tickets because the reps know and the reps would tell us. And we would audit our season ticket base, whether it was small or big. Some years was small, some years was big, everything in between. We would audit it to make sure we understood who was buying our tickets. I was very much in favor of selling to ticket resellers when we were opening the new ballpark because our individual sales were not at the speed I wanted, and I didn't want it to look like a failure. So we allowed ticket resellers to buy season tickets, and all of a sudden we had 12,000 season ticket holders, a number that the Marlins had not approached since they first joined Major League Baseball back in the early 90s. This is a success story. We are faking it till we make it. We are letting the world know that we've got people who care about our games. But then when the turnstile is low and people aren't showing up and you're looking at the block of 50 tickets and you're saying, wait a minute, for this random Wednesday game, they didn't send anybody. There's not one person in these seats. And believe me, we had people who worked for us who were going around during the games and checking out the locations of season ticket holders, checking out the locations of ticket resellers, all for the purpose of trying to figure out what we were dealing with. Was it in the back of my head that I was leaving money on the table? I didn't allow it to be. Because so many baseball games are below market and people are paying prices because they're season ticket holders that they would not have paid in a dynamic setting because either the team stinks or it's really hot or the opponent stinks, whatever combination they're in. But the reason why that you allow for it is that you don't ever picture the level of prosperity that teams who don't allow for it have. And the Green Bay Packers are the shining example of that. The entire Marlins wait list for season tickets has 0 names on it. 0. The wait list for season tickets in Green Bay, 150,000. You can spend 2 score plus 7 years on the wait list, and by the time you get tickets, you need to relocate them to the disabled section. Sometimes people die still on the waiting list. Here's a little nugget in Green Bay. Sorry, estate planners, no go. When the person of record dies, those tickets are right back available because you got to get people off the wait list at some point because it's so disheartening. And if you know that you've got ticket resellers buying blocks of tickets in Green Bay, you blow them out so fast, it's like you just went to the dry bar on your way to a charity event and you're running late. And the reason why you want them gone is that you want to get individuals there off the waiting list who are guaranteed to pay, and they're guaranteed to pay the price increases, and you're getting to keep more of the revenue than if you gave it to a reseller who on great games like against the Cowboys, well, no, maybe against the Steelers would be a great game now. Whatever it is, if there is a game that is so far above in the Green Bay home schedule, the premium that these ticket resellers will charge will absolutely make up for all of the dud games. But from our standpoint, as an operator of a sold-out stadium where there's 9 games a year or 8 depending on the year, where you've got to maximize your gate revenue to keep up with the Joneses, pun intended, you cannot give margin away to a third party. And that's all a ticket reseller is. They're taking your tickets, they're putting a margin on it, and that's their business. No. I am hugely, hugely in favor of getting rid of ticket resellers. But here's the deal. You have to say it in advance. It is not appropriate You cannot very simply just take away a season ticket at your whim. You have the right to under the contract, but you really need a path. You need a reason, because you don't want your season ticket holders to think that you're some sort of crazy authoritarian who's just one day going to wake up and do something like a lunatic would do. So what we would do is that we would promote what this plan was. Listen, if you're a ticket reseller, you can't do business with us. You can't buy bulk season tickets. If you would like to change into a real individual name, because we see what you're doing here, we know the company behind the name of the season ticket holder. We're not dolts or bolts. We want to give the ticket reseller a chance to move individually and to have the tickets. Now, if an individual ticket holder is acting like a reseller, do you get rid of them too? Oh, yeah. Do you know how you know when they're doing that? Because we monitor every single game on the secondary market, every single ticket on the secondary market, and we map it. And then we get to say, wait a minute, it looks like section 7, row 3, seat 69 is always for sale every week. That season ticket holder doesn't go to one game. We have the right to rescind your tickets if you don't show up, and we're going to do it. Why? We got 150,000 people who are lined up, so our season ticket numbers stay the same. And frankly, our revenue is going to increase, because instead of going on the secondary market and getting more, or sometimes less if you're desperate, we're going to get more up front on an increased price, because someone's going to be so happy to have gotten off the wait list. So it really is supply-demand dependent. So the Green Bay Packers are the perfect team. Now, when we got rid of ticket resellers with the Marlins, it was a very sad day. Why did we do it? Because we wanted to scrape every possible dollar of revenue we could, but the ticket resellers were only too happy to give up their tickets because we weren't winning. There was no payment. There was no juice, just a ton of squeeze. It's an interesting question for sure. Speaking of tickets, I think this next voicemail may be a ticket one also. Coco, what do you got for me?
Hey, David. This is Kenny from Cottontown, Tennessee. Love the show. My question is to you, with the recent deal made between NFL and ESPN, what is the likelihood of the NBA and the NHL going back to ESPN and say, hey, is there a way that we could possibly invest into your company as well? And if so, if they're able to make a deal with ESPN, would Major League Baseball also do the same? Anyway, love the show. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for that. Yes, we are a live show. Coke is not in my ear. I didn't know what was next. I thought it would be another thing about tickets, but it turns out to be about the NBA or NHL and whether or not they could possibly get into the ESPN business. And this comes on the heel of an unsubstantiated report that baseball is ready to solve its broadcast issues, and that Apple may be SOL, that Netflix may get the home run derby, that NBC Peacock may get games on Fridays and Sundays, and Netflix may get the home run derby, and NBC Peacock would get a wild card round as well. Maybe. Not done yet. But there was another little nugget in that rumor that MLB.TV may get sold to ESPN. Now, did that sound familiar? I was racking my brain when I was reading that, and I was saying, what other leagues sold their media assets to ESPN? Oh, that was the NFL. Now, what did the NFL get back? They didn't get back a couple billion because they don't need a couple billion in cash. They got back shares in ESPN, equity in ESPN, not yet federally approved, but let's pretend it's been approved. NFL has a 10% stake now in ESPN. What will it mean for journalism? Wait to see. What will it mean for the value of ESPN? Wait to see. Whether it was a good deal that the NFL did, we'll find out, because it's binary. Either deals are good or bad. It's measured by money. But do you think that Major League Baseball woke up after reading that only a week or two ago, whenever it came out? And do you think that there's a chance that Major League Baseball said, hold on a second, why can't we get in on this? Well, we did get in on this when I was at baseball. We sold BAMTech to ESPN for billions of dollars. BAMTech was our back-of-the-house technology company, and it was sold to Disney, John Skipper, and it was paid to owners including the owner of the Marlins, in installments, and we all got to use that money what we wanted to. Pay down debt, sign a player, do whatever you want with it. It was like extra cash that went straight to the bottom line during the years when Disney was paying for BAMTech. If Major League Baseball had approached us and said, we're looking to get rid of BAMTech, we're going to sell it, and in return, we're going to get a piece of ESPN, what do we think, guys? 28 out of 30 owners would have looked at Commissioner Bud Selig and said, are you out of your right mind? We want the money. We want the cash. One of the big differences between baseball and football is in baseball, the number of teams who are cash flow negative is 22 times bigger than the number of teams that are cash flow negative in football. It's way easier for football to take a non-cash alternative as payment for the exchange of an asset than it would be for baseball. It would be the equivalent of baseball selling its next round of technology, which in this case could be MLB.TV, where you have the right to watch all sorts of games in market, out of market, etc. If that negotiation is actually happening, and that has not been widely reported at all, and that negotiation is not for cash, that means that ESPN is giving them cash in a different way because, trust me, the owners want cash from their broadcast partners. This promise of equity, you can get 5% of this, 2% of that. Don't you want to be partners with the National Football League and us as we take football and I guess baseball to the next level? I don't know. The commissioner has to meet with those owners and tell them, sorry, man, we're going to give you a little piece of paper. It's like an IOU. We owe you 4% of ESPN, and you can take that and you can use it in the restroom unless it works out, in which case you're going to be super happy, in which case the owner says, that's great. I will trade future happiness for today cash. So it's not that I think that it would never happen. I just think it would never happen. What about the NBA or NHL? Would they go back to ESPN? Would they go cut a deal for any of their assets and say, hey, give me equity or give me death? I don't want your money here. Well, I guess what I would say to you is it seems incredibly, incredibly unlikely as well. So what do I think is going to happen? What I think is going to happen is that you are going to see ESPN try to cut a deal with Major League Baseball where they're going to try to get the rights to certain local teams, those same rights that MLB now is doing. ESPN would like that inventory on its app. They'd like it on its channel. They would like the opportunity to get involved in local dissemination of games, knowing that they have a major problem with the national package because the national packages are going to be rolled up and taken by Netflix, Peacock, NBC, etc. Then when the NBA gets ready, when the NHL gets ready and they're negotiating, again, the NBA, what did they do? They had rights. They just signed the deal. What did they do? They took the money. NHL, without a doubt, taking the money. I don't see another league out there, Coca, to you, who would take equity back. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if MLB got long-sighted and got the ability to put 23 owners in a corner with Jennifer Gray and just say, hey, baby, we would be really smart to take this little bit of equity from ESPN, give them MLB.TV, give them the 5 teams that Rockies, Padres, all the other teams we are working with on our games. Let's take it. Let's ride. I don't really think so. I'm going to read the next question. This was a good one. This came in, oh God, it must have been yesterday when we did our geographic realignment and expansion talk with MLB. Remember, if you remember yesterday's show, we had an entire show where the concept was, here's what Rob Manfred said. If he said it, he meant it. Get ready. Geographic realignment. It's coming. American League, National League. See you later, most likely. Yeah, we've talked about it. Someone said the following. Hi, David. I like that. I get that also on the voicemails, which makes me happy, but I always enjoyed it in the written questions of the So You Want to Talk to Samson, because it means like you took the time, as opposed to just going right into it thinking, oh, this could make the show. Hi, David. I live in Nashville. I love our fans in Nashville. I love the show we did in Nashville. I love everything about Nashville, a major league ready city, a good chance in expansion. I really believe that. They're going to have to step up and get a local owner with a huge, deep pocket to pay an expansion fee that will make you blush. Plus, they got to figure out how to leverage and get a fully funded retractable roof stadium. But love Nashville. They're never going to be mentioned by baseball as the sole place for expansion because they want competition. I love Nashville's chances. Fine. Hi, David. Hello, David. I'm from Nashville. Thank you. I got you. Let's keep going. Can you please discuss what happened yesterday when Music City Baseball came out and talked about the fact that they are focused on being ready for either relocation or expansion? I thought that the commissioner talked way more about expansion. Why do you think Nashville is a relocation candidate? And do you think that their best chance to get a team is expansion and not relocation? Are the Marlins moving? That's how you make the show. That's a great question. Thank you. Let me stop everyone right now. There is a publicly available stadium agreement that's right behind me on the shelf. You can find it. And it's the Marlins Stadium Agreements. There's an agreement in there that's called a non-relocation agreement. That non-relocation agreement states that the Marlins will not move out of Miami for the length of the 38-year lease. 38 years. Now, when's year one? Wait for it. It's strange this way. Year one may not be 2012. Shh. Year one may be 2009. Unclear. Read the document. But what's 38 plus 9? 47. 2047 at the minimum, 2050 more likely. Is that soon? Because that's when the Marlins can go. When Marlins Park is old enough that either they refurb, they find a way to finance it, or they tear it down and build another butte somewhere, maybe still in Little Havana, or maybe at the slip right next to the AAA. Who'd want a ballpark there? Maybe at Wynwood. That wouldn't work. John Henry, of course it would have worked. Gosh dang it. Yeah, you just got a lot of Marlins stuff right there quick. Yeah, it's true that the Marlins could have had a stadium at Wynwood, which is one of the coolest areas in Miami. And John Henry said, no, that area will never be anything. And then we said, well, hold on, stick to analytics and trading because that area is a boom area. Oh, well, what about the urban sprawl that'll get you to Little Havana? That'll be cool. That'll happen. Oh, yeah, it's already 2025. The sprawl is more like a crawl. There's an urban crawl to Little Havana. By the time they get there, the lease may be over. But in the meantime, whether they draw 7,069 people or 33,269 people, the Marlins aren't going anywhere. They are not relocating. Hard stop, done. However, are there other candidates for relocation? The Tampa Rays. Could they relocate? Could the new owner of the Tampa Rays not get a stadium deal done in Tampa, not be able to stay at the Tropicana in St. Petersburg because the lease runs out, and God knows they want to get out of there, and all of a sudden the ownership group says to the new owner of Tampa, thanks for buying the team for 1.7, but man, you got to get out of there. How do you feel about Nashville? Not out of the question. Where's the owner from who is buying the Tampa Bay Rays? Oh, no help there from the area. Do I think it is remotely possible that Tampa could relocate? Remote. Braves? No. Mets? Yankees? Brewers? Cubs? Cardinals? Astros? Rangers? Mariners? Twins? Twins? No, they're way too committed to the fan base, way too passionate. Hold on, let's keep going. Angels, Padres, Diamondbacks, Yankees, Mets, Nationals. You get where I'm going here? There's no relocation coming after the Oakland A's had to relocate. Maybe the Tampa Bay Rays, but I highly doubt it. So if you think that Nashville is holding its hat or is going to publicly say, hey, we're here, we're ready for relocation, they'll be waiting and Godot will get there faster. But expansion, Hold on a second. Didn't we just hear the commissioner say that expansion's coming? And didn't I tell you it's a guarantee that there's going to be 32 teams in Major League Baseball? And if you're Nashville and you're sitting there waiting, you are not meeting with other teams trying to convince them to relocate to your town. You are putting a book together to get Major League Baseball choosing Nashville as an expansion city. Hard stop. So after Rob Manfred gives his little talk about expansion, what do you think you do if you're the baseball executives, or if you're the people, the business people in Nashville who are trying to get a team together? They started this group called Music City Baseball. It's a local ownership platform that they're trying to get information out to get an MLB team to Nashville. Well, what do? You come out, if you're on the board of directors, and you say, our focus, and it always has been, is be ready for either relocation or expansion, but focusing on expansion. It's a very, very, very smart comment to make on the heels of what Rob said the other day, because your only chance is expansion. I love that you mentioned relocation in your quote, in your comment, because listen, if the S hits the F and all of a sudden a team has to R, then you need to let baseball know we are ready to receive a franchise. But if everything goes as planned, then I'm going to focus on expansion, and I'm putting all the money together. We're going to do a great expansion draft. We're going to win a World Series as quick as the Golden Knights won a Stanley Cup, as quick as the Marlins won a World Series after expansion, and we're going to do it in a beautiful ballpark. Here's our package of fully funded and all of the big names who are a part of it. Brilliant. The guy who was on this board said, we are now focused on part one, real estate. We are evaluating different sites in the downtown area right now. How smart are they to be doing that? Because when it comes time, when expansion is announced, you don't want to then start the process and say, hey, just curious, is there a place to build a stadium around here? No. When expansion gets announced, you are going to be ready with a package that will be postmarked the day it is voted on by the owners, saying that they are now allowing expansion cities to make presentations. You will have your entire book binder ready, slideshow, celebrity video, courtesy of Pablo Torre finds out, maybe a little LeBron, maybe a little Trump, who knows? But you're going to be ready to roll, and it is going to be sent, and it will be sent with music surrounding it. There may be some Kid Rock involved. There may be some, Johnny Cash. There will be a presentation, and you know what MLB executives do when they get these presentations? Guess what? They don't care about any of that stuff, but everyone feels like they have to do it. They make all these amazing presentations. Look at the great restaurants in Nashville. The Chamber of Commerce gets up and says, we've got 2 Michelin star restaurants, and we've got some of the best barbecue this side of Memphis or on the Kansas City, wherever. Then they say, do you realize that we've got 10 million tourists who come here? They're all on bachelor and bachelorette parties. And believe me, they're not going to want to go to a baseball game. They're going to want to get hammered in thigh-high boots and cowboy hats. Well, that's not interesting either. So what does the expansion booklet do? You open it, you skip past all the commerce chamber crap, and you go right to, whoa, we are prepared to pay a $2.9 billion expansion fee. Well, now you've got my attention. And I draw your attention to page 69 of the playbook. And here's a picture of a stadium, not like a rendering of the Sydney Opera House. This isn't on 9 acres, folks. This is a real one where we are building a retractable roof stadium. And here's the contribution required by the owners of the Major League Baseball team. And then you present this amazing breakfast donut from Nashville that's like the greatest hangover thing of all time, and you put it right there. You try to keep it fresh. You don't mash it down when you send it, because you hand deliver it, and it's got a big donut. That's what we want in terms of building our stadium. Nashville has it nailed. Now, it's not done. It's not done because there are other cities who could catch on. But the way Nashville's been dealing with this for years, the way they're saying the right things publicly, the way they are being calm yet efficient, the way they are being confident, not cocky, the way that they're communicating with baseball directly, not through the media, all the different steps that smart people do as opposed to bad people. They're not bad people, as opposed to people who don't know what the heck they're doing. Nashville definitely knows what it's doing. That was a good question, though. Thank you. Coca, how about another voicemail?
Hello, David. I'm a longtime listener. Listened to when you first started the show. Love it. Listen to it every day. You are the Jon Stewart of sports business. My question for you is, how does a city change the culture? When you look at Pittsburgh and they have the most dominant pitcher with Paul Skeens right now, why can't they win more? They have a decent lineup. Why can't the Kansas City Royals maintain a winning record over the years? In Miami, they win a World Series and then are a laughingstock. How can a culture be changed so a team finally, when they do win, can continue winning? I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, David.
I had to put that question in, Coca. I'm in. Thank you. The Jon Stewart of sports business. Thank you. Miami, a laughingstock after winning a World Series? Where? Who's laughing? Were you laughing in 2004, 2005 when we should have made the playoffs and we were good and favored to be a playoff team? Were you laughing then? Was it a joke to you then? What about 2006? All right, you could laugh, but man, we were good. Building up that team with Hanley and Ugla and Cody Ross. Come on. Were you laughing in 2012 when we were the kings of the offseason, bringing in all those great free agents? Were you laughing then? Oh, were you laughing in 2013 when we traded them all and lost 100 games? Oh, laughing stock. It's a good question, actually. Wait, what was the question again, Coca? What exactly is he asking? How do we create a winning culture? Why is it that small market teams can't continue to win, and therefore there's no winning culture, and therefore it's bad? I'm sorry. How many teams out of 30 have exactly what you're talking about? Can we name them? Red Sox for sure. Oh, no. That can't be it because they finish in last place every other year, and their fan base gets totally impatient and frustrated. Oh, it's got to be the Cubs. It's got to be the Cubs. The Cubs have a winning culture. They won a World Series in 2016. Dynasty never happened. Booing, Ricketts, Kyle Tucker. Well, yeah, that can't be it. The Cardinals, dynasty, winning culture. No, we just did a whole segment that their attendance is way down. The Brew Crew, big time. They create a winning culture and they draw fans. They win year after year. It's my Brewers. That's the example. You can't even say it's the Tampa Bay Rays. I could argue it's not the New York Yankees because you'd laugh when we told you what their actual attendance was. And side note, Mets, only recently, people love Steve Cohen. Now they'll go to games, but then they stink and people stop going to games. Is it a winning culture in the Queens? No. You can get your tires chopped off, that's for sure. But a winning culture? I don't think so. Astros, that's got to be it. The Astros in their dynasty. The Giants, they draw 4,000 people at Candlestick, but then they had a winning culture at Pac Bell, but now their attendance is back because they can't win because of, I don't know, is it Devers? Is it, who knows who it is? Can't be Buster Posey. Maybe it's Scott Cousins. Don't know what the reason is. I just can't think of a team that has a consistent, forever winning culture, and there's always no issues with the fan base. Does that exist? In what world? Because I missed it over 18 years. Maybe in the 7 years since there's been, is it anyone other than the Brewers? And is it the Brewers who have never won a World Series ever and haven't been to the World Series, as we discussed yesterday, since 1982? Is that a winning culture? Isn't winning when you get the rings, isn't winning when you are the last team standing, albeit once in your life, maybe twice. Is a winning culture simply when you have the chance to win? Can't be, because many teams have the chance to win every single year. Your Royals, the Royals you brought up, they won a World Series 10 years ago. 10 years ago. That's like yesterday. And they're good. I don't even know what you're talking about. Because we're winners. And it's just business. I love all your questions. We'll do it again next week. This is nothing personal.